Minimum fees. What are they? You've probably come across them. If you haven't, you will come across them. You'll see other people charging minimum fees. You'll see people asking about minimum fees, and you might wonder how they work exactly. So let's get into it. So first of all, what is a minimum fee? A minimum fee is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. A minimum fee is a minimum for which you will do a certain job. Now, why would someone charge a minimum fee? Well, there's several reasons. Well, let's say, and I'm going to make the math very easy for me, so, try to keep it simple here. But let's say someone asks you to do a job and it's 2 words and your rate is 10 cents a word. So that means you get paid 20 cents. However, they contact you. You need to see, is it a client you know? Is it someone new? You try to look up the client, see if they're worth working with. You try to look at their file, see if it's worth it, see what their timeline, their deadline is, see if, if they're sending you a PDF, you have to do this, that, and the other. Anyway, you look at what's involved. You see if it's worth your time. You say, okay, yeah, I can probably work on this. It's worth my time and I can handle this language combination and this specialization, all that. So you're like, okay, fine, I'll work on it. So they assign it to you. You work on it, translate the 2 words, you send it off to them. And maybe they have a question, why did you choose that word? And you're like, because it's the right one. And then you send it back, okay, fine. Then you have to invoice them. Then you wait until the end of the month. And then you have to chase them for the payment because this happens at least 50% of the time. And it seems like, and then finally they pay you. At a certain point, you'll realize that maybe it's not really worth your time for 20 cents. So how do you get by this? Well, by charging a minimum fee. And this is what you'll see certain people do. Now, minimum fees can be $5, $10, $50, $20, what have you. But it's a certain amount under which you will not perform a translation. You will ask for at least that amount. Even if they ask you to translate 2 words, you still want to get paid your minimum amount of whatever it might be. Let's say it's $10. I'm going to keep the math easy for myself again. So let's say you get paid 10 cents a word and your minimum amount is $10. This will be equal to 100 words, right? So if someone asks you to translate a document with 99 words, you're still going to get paid your $10. If someone asks you to translate 101 words, then you get paid your minimum, and then there's 1 extra word. It's not like you take the minimum of $10 and then you add on another $10 and whatever. No. So you do the minimum amount and then you just add on whatever word count there is extra. It's quite logical when you think about it. So basically, if it's 101 words, you will charge $10 plus 10 cents. $10.10, and that's how it works. So, and if it's 110 words, you will charge how much? $11. If I'm doing my math right. I'm trying to keep it very simple for myself, and who knows. But you get the idea. And this minimum charge basically allows you to make sure that anytime you actually open your computer to do a job, it's worth your time, depending how much your time is worth. Now, maybe when you start out, you can collect any type of job, but chances are after a while, you come across a couple jobs that are quite a bit of work, because the example I gave was pretty straightforward, but a lot of clients can be quite a bit of work. Sometimes you have to use their own internal software to do your work. Sometimes they have a weird payment system and you have to wait 60 days for payment. Other times, who knows what comes up. And so, especially when you have these clients, you'll realize that it's really not worth your time. And so that's when the minimum fee comes in. Now, when I said when you start off, you might not want to charge a minimum fee, the fact is you should probably keep it in mind for at some point in the future. At some point, you will start charging a minimum fee. You will want to start charging this minimum fee. Why? Because otherwise it's not worth your time. And you can't have clients contacting you left, right, and center for small jobs that just aren't worth your time. And so what I ended up doing, if someone contacted me for a job of 2 words or say 1 sentence, I'd often just do it for free. Because quite frankly, it wasn't worth my time to invoice and all that. And I knew they wouldn't pay my minimum for that. And I didn't want to charge my minimum for that, quite frankly. I didn't think it was fair. So if it was something short, just an expression or something like that, I'd be like, I can handle that. It's for free. Don't worry about it. And otherwise, I always charge my minimum. Now, there were exceptions. I had some regular clients that gave me regular work. Every single month, I got regular stuff from them, and they had no minimum. Why? Because I knew that over the course of the month, I would get a certain amount of volume from them, which would more than cover my minimum, right? So they might send me something short of just a few words, but then a few days later, they send me a bunch of documents to translate, and then the week after, they send me something. So every month, when I sent my invoice at the end of the month, it would be a pretty big invoice. So I wouldn't charge a minimum for each job with them because I knew I had regular work with them. So it will be a judgment call after a bit, but it should be a goal for you to eventually charge a minimum fee, because otherwise it's just not worth it for you. Now, your minimum fee, you have to see how much it's worth to you. It can grow over time, but you need to make this very clear to your clients as it does grow. And what might happen is that certain new clients get a higher minimum fee than older clients who get grandfathered in. So you kind of need to see how that works out for you. I've seen minimum fees from $5, $10 to $20, up to $50. And in fact, agencies then have their own minimum fees, which can be $50, $100, what have you. But for translators, I think it's been about that range. So just keep this in mind when you're working, that sooner or later you will want to charge a minimum fee. And the way to make this clear, by the way, is just to tell the client. And if they ask you to translate this, say, yes, I can do it for my minimum fee of this. Or if they ask you for your price, say, my price is this, minimum fee this. And everyone understands what a minimum fee is. And that's pretty much all there is to minimum fees. If you have any questions about them, feel free to ask me. But it's a pretty straightforward concept, but it is quite important and you will come across it. So it's something you should keep in mind. And it can be very useful, especially when you have these small jobs. A lot of people, by the way, don't want to accept small jobs, like maybe translating a birth certificate or something like this, because they say it's not worth their time to spend all that time to get paid just for the 20 words that are in that birth certificate or something. But I know quite a few people who like to do it because if you charge a minimum fee, it's worth your time. And in fact, if you specialize in something like birth certificates, you can have a ready-made template. So you just fill it out each time and you get paid your minimum fee, and it can be quite worth it. So keep this in mind as well, that it can depend on what you specialize in and what you work on as to how quickly you want to start applying this minimum fee and how you want to apply it. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about minimum fees. If you have anything to add or any questions, please feel free to let me know. But that's all I have to say. And otherwise, I will talk to you next time. Okay, thanks. Bye. Savidum.